The first time I met Phil was in 1963 when I came to Ann Arbor looking for a job. He was to become a cherished colleague for the next 25 years and a good friend for 50 years. Although Phil had strong feelings about a number of topics, he was easy to work with. Academics can be pretty judgmental, and most everyone gets knocked every once in a while. I'm hard-pressed, though, to recall in all my years at ISR and in the political science department anyone ever knocking Phil. He conducted himself with so much integrity, sound judgment, goodwill, and with such a modest demeanor that really there wasn't much left to pick at. Phil was also a cheerful soul. ISR bays tend to acquire a personality of their own, and I think ours was quite friendly and not above having a pretty good time socially. So Phil's cheerfulness sort of set the right tone for creating and maintaining that climate. Phil did not seek to interfere with or organize your professional life, but he was a great source of advice and direction when called upon. He gave me guidance on the world of large-scale research and alerted me to many minefields in the professional and organizational worlds. At one point, he bailed me out of a jam I was in on an international project that only someone with his diplomatic and persuasive skills could have accomplished. So I owe him a lot on that. Phil had at least one unusual work habit, which consisted of his nocturnal visits to ISR. Now, we know he did that because graduate students, very impressed and working late at night, would see him come in. Now, these excursions of his, I'm sure, were not fundamental to his brilliant scholarship. On the other hand, I think maybe he had something going, because a few years later, another star joined us, and by golly, he started making late night visits to ISR. So there was something there, I think. Before turning to administration, Phil usually had a gaggle of graduate students that he was mentoring. And one year, there was a very large number of them trying to complete their dissertations. They bonded together and in an inspired moment started calling themselves the Converse All-Stars. They didn't start wearing Converse sneakers, but they did fashion Converse t-shirts for themselves. Now, Phil was really got a big kick out of that, quite an unusual tribute. Phil's collegiality extended beyond the workplace. In this, he partnered with Gene in providing wonderful hospitality and sparkling conversation. One vivid memory involves my verbal jousting with Gene, who tried very hard over the years, with some success, to move me a couple of notches to the left on the party ID scale. She probably doesn't remember that, but she did. Phil would look on with an amused smile, knowing that Gene was more than able to take my measure. I treasure two photographs of Phil. Most of you have probably seen one. Three of the authors of the American Voter grouped around a map in 1956. Three smart guys with neat bow ties, a real evocative keeper. There's the incredibly young Phil Converse, so earnest looking, standing on the cusp of the marvelous career that was to follow. The second photograph, taken 20 years later, is more personal and involves me and Phil. Phil, by now widely recognized for his stellar contributions, is standing in front of the blackboard in his office with his usual open, friendly countenance. I'm leaning against the desk, looking up at him, and I'm obviously full of all kinds of admiration and respect for the man as a scholar. At the same time, I'm acknowledging a gracious individual, a man of good cheer and a warm heart, someone you could trust without doubt. Well, what more could I have wanted in a colleague?